Hello, welcome to Undisputed Boxing, the boxing news and gossip edition. We have had a busy week this week with boxing news, rumors floating around, purse bids. I'm here with Rick to talk through it all and digest it. Where should we start, Rick?
Well, seeing you've got the background on, and I know it's one you're keen to talk about, so I'll let you.
Yeah, Anthony Yarde. I mean, there's a lot of rumors floating around now that he is potentially going to be joining Matchroom. There was a lot of cryptic tweets that were sent after the Lyndon Arthur fight. And I think a lot of people were alluding to potentially changing trainers. It's obviously now become very apparent and clear he's got no intention of leaving Tunde Ajayi. It looks like they're still pretty close, still training, still talking. And I noticed that Frank Warren hasn't really been talking about him for quite some time. No fight announced or booked. It's been almost 2 months since his fight with Lyndon Arthur. So I don't know if there's maybe trouble there, and maybe he's thinking about moving promotional outfits. I don't know if that's potentially where the problem is, and whether he maybe needs to address some of the fundamentals in the ring and how he's approaching these some of these fights. But I think it's an interesting one. I don't know what you've been sort of reading into that situation.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned this a few days ago, and I hadn't heard anything. And in fact, I'd seen an interview with good old Bricktop. I can't remember who it was with. Not one of the normal I watch, but he was reacting to the Warrington loss and talking about things and stuff. And he was talking about one of the the signings he's made. He's obviously stolen one from. We talked about it last week. Stolen one from Matchroom, I suppose. At the same weight category, and he was going through his potential fights, and he did say, "Oh no, there's Yarde as well." So he did mention him. It's only mention I've heard. But then, I've started to see a few other things and a few other videos, none that I've really looked at, just showing stuff. And you're right, there was a bit of noise, and he did leave some cryptic stuff. And it does feel like Tunde's around. And I do remember IFL pushing him on it, and and this was a few weeks ago, and he just said, "Oh yeah, well, we've got a few sit-down meetings," but it didn't. At that time, I didn't feel it was about Queensberry, but it could well be. And in the space of 6 months, good old Frankie boy could have lost his two biggest fights. Not lost them, but lost Yarde, and Dubois on the in the background a bit, where Hearn's flying high with he's got the two biggest fighters in the world now with AJ and Canelo.
Yeah.
So I mean, interesting, and I suppose Yarde will want to get a fight booked in soon, so something's got to come out at some point. And it may just be maybe Yarde's just fed up and wants to leave Queensberry, and the delay is the Matchroom deal. But it'll be easier to make fights with Matchroom, you'd have thought, if he's with Matchroom. Depends what he wants to do as well. I mean, his last fight wasn't very good, and he's only got himself to blame for that.
Yeah, there is that. And also the rematch, the money for that rematch is not going to be particularly good. So that's probably left him thinking, right, now I need to this is the time to make the switch. And I don't know if you remember, I think it was maybe a year ago or 2 years ago where Daniel Dubois signed a 4-year deal with Frank Warren.
I think it's 5.
5 years. Oh, is it that long?
5.
Yeah. So, and I wonder if Warren would have been pitching something similar to Anthony Yarde, because it was obvious that Dubois and Yarde, they were kind of in unison, weren't they? They were the two biggest stars that he had. And obviously he got something with Dubois, but not the same thing with Yarde. And I don't know if maybe Yarde is on a fight-by-fight deal with Warren. I mean, who knows? But I do think it's, it is. It will be quite interesting to see what happens over the next 2 or 3 weeks. Okay.
I mean, it makes you wonder what would trigger it. I mean, he was, along with Dubois, he was like the pin-up boy for BT Boxing. They'd put a lot of time and effort into him. He won't get that in Matchroom. He won't be he'll be lost in the crowd to some degree. Yeah. And, you know, we've got to bear that in mind. If he's not happy with the money he's going to get for the rematch, he shouldn't be in the situation where he's having a rematch against Arthur, if I'm honest. You know, so the thing of how much is he looking at himself and blaming himself about things? Or was there something where he didn't really want to fight behind closed doors and they were saying you have to? I don't know, they forced him into something and therefore, you know, he was like, I don't want to fight behind closed doors. They said, well, you have to. And then he did. And then that happened and he blames them. You just don't know. There'd be so many things going on. But yeah, it'd be interesting if he does leave to hear why. Now, sometimes they're very political and they don't want to say too much. And sometimes they do. So, you know, we'll see on that one. But yeah, interesting.
All right, what else you got?
The next two things are a bit about purse bids, actually.
Okay.
So, oh, actually, no, before that, I'm trying to link things in. So another person who could be quite peed off with their promotional outfit is Garcia. And I probably, before spouting my mouth off, should look a bit more into this, but I can only see what I saw this morning. He did an interview with Phelps. What's the outlet called?
Michelle Joy Phelps. Is it Boxing Social? No, Behind the Gloves. Behind the Gloves.
Yeah. Hi-Fi Fans, that one. Yeah. So he did a bit camp that, wasn't it? He was quite open. I mean, he was doing he was with DAZN for the commentary, and I've not seen much interviews with him, but he's very young. He is young, but he comes across very young, and he's not taught like a boxer. He's not like a boxer in a sense. You can say he's come from this other generation, and he's just the way he's talking stuff. So, but he kind of made it out there. I mean, he's still talking. He didn't want to fight Devin Haney, and I know Hearn wants him to, and he's like, I can't get up for that fight. It's like it's for you. He's acting like he almost acts like he's a world champion already, and he's still not won a belt yet.
Yeah.
You know, so he's acting a bit of his station, I think. And he's like, I can't get up for that fight. How can you not fight for your first world title? So I don't quite buy that. But he wants to fight, Pacquiao or Tank. He's like those two. And I think Hearn said, listen, if you'll get one of those two fights, fair play. I can see why you would, but I'm not sure if he's going to. And anyway, I think he put something on his online about the Pacquiao fight, and it's not materialized. I think it looks a bit silly now. And I've not seen it, and this is why I probably should have seen, but De La Hoya's come out and said something about him, and he's not reacted well to it. I don't know exactly what he said, but I get the feeling it's around his next fight and the Pacquiao fight. And he's kicked off a bit, and he's like, that's disrespectful. It wasn't professional. And I don't work for any of them; they work for me. And again, it might just be the fact he's very young, but those are his words. And you probably look at the video later. But with Eddie Hearn almost take over America a bit, American market. I mean, he's not taken long. I mean, people said, how's he do it? How's he going to do? But he's slowly but surely. He's got quite a lot of fighters. He's working with Triple G, now promotes Canelo.
Yeah.
He's been there 2 years and look what he's done.
Yeah.
And you just, especially the Mexican connection, and they all look up to Canelo. Is he going to pull more in like the Garcias and Ruiz, who will work with Eddie Reynoso? So, that could grow even more. So this is more of a, it seemed like quite a thing to come out. It might be one of those things that he should have kept behind closed doors as well. And he's young and just spouting his mouth off, but I just found that kind of interesting. So that could be another. I don't know what his contract is with Golden Boy and how that works, but Golden Boy won't want to lose him because he's the kind of replacement for Canelo.
Yeah, he is kind of their poster boy now, isn't he? I guess now that Canelo's gone. Well, it'd be interesting to see how that plays.
He is a new breed. I mean, even me and you, we've been watching, but we were not seeing. It's not something we've not seen anything like this before in boxing. He's usually someone comes through the ranks and proves themselves and gets to a high level in boxing before all the fame and the numbers come. And you know, you could argue Joshua was probably very, very big before he won the world title, but he only got big just before he got to the world title. I think, you know, his first pay-per-view fight was just before the world title, and before that he'd only had a couple of fights where he was headlining. It just went very quickly, you know. And also in the UK, he'd won he'd won the Olympics in London, so he already had to step up. But Garcia's got silly numbers on social media and does silly numbers when he fights, and this is before he even fought anyone with a particular pulse. And because he you know, he's marketed himself very well on social media, and he's a kind of not YouTuber, but he's a kind of online personality who can box really, really well. And he's almost at the, you know, and we're not used to that.
Yeah.
But someone like Eddie Hearn recognize that and go, he's a talented boy. Look what he did to Campbell, who's a good level, and he's going to be, you know, money. So, you know, it'll be a very big, you know, asset for someone like her.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a strange dynamic, isn't it? He's almost got like a much bigger following than Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney, and Gervonta Davis. Like in terms of like Instagram and social media, he's in a TV show, so it's almost like he's kind of like the main guy, but he's not even won a world title yet. So yeah, it is strange.
Yeah. Which for, I don't know how you feel about it. For me, as a bit more of a boxing purist, I suppose, it does grate me slightly.
Yeah.
You know, usually they do it the way around. You know, they become famous boxing and then they retire and they may do the, you know, I'm a celebrity, get me out here, and I don't mind any of that. But I don't know, it seems to go the other way around with it.
Well, that will be the mark of a true champion. You know, if he's got all of this fame and accolades and all the rest of it, if he's still kind of at the top of his game 4 or 5 years from now, if we're still talking about him in the sense of a, you know, in a boxing sense, you know, look at Floyd Mayweather. He's the, you know, the obvious example of that. He had all of the fame and success, but he was never out of shape. He was just always so dedicated to the sport.
Yeah. But at least he had it. I mean, he got really famous, many belts along, not after his first belt. You know, I mean, people call Joshua a hype job still, don't they? And he's, you know, oh, you've got all these followers and everyone loves him, but he's a hype job. What's he done? Well, he has got 3 belts and an Olympic medal. You know what I mean? At least he has got something. Where Garcia is a hype job at the moment, but I admit he's got big potential. But I don't know, getting old-fashioned as I'm approaching 40, I'd kind of prefer him to, you know, one unified before. I've got no issue with someone like Canelo with all the fame he's got and all, you know, because look what he's done. But it's the world we live in now, Ave. So I've got to get used to it.
Yeah. All right, let's move on then.
Yeah, before I start rabbling on. The next topics are also linked. These are about purse bids.
Yes.
And the first, well, I'll do the first one and you do the second one because I know you're more bought into the second one. So interesting occurrence that took place this week, purse bids for, again, I'm going to forget names there, but who's Lopez's opponent?
George Kambosos.
Yeah. So obviously for the titles, and I don't know why that didn't get agreed earlier. I don't know why that wasn't boxed off with Top Rank, but it wasn't, and it went to purse bids. And we touched on this. I don't know, it was the last week or the week before, and you know, there was an interview with Bob Arum. He said that, you know, he almost said to Hearn, or he said, "What happens if Hearn bids for this?" In his purse bid, and he said, "Oh, well, that wouldn't be good for our future workings," almost in linking it to the Fury fight, which isn't professional in a sense.
Yeah.
He did bid Hearn. I think it was something like, not bang on numbers here, but I think Top Rank bid 2.6 million. Hearn bid 3.6 or around that, and then Trilla, who are a media platform, and I only know them for doing the recent Mike Tyson fight, they bid just over 6. So a proper, you know, industry disruptor coming into it new, a bit like DAZN were doing it like 18 months ago, just buying something that's not worth it just to disrupt, start getting the name about. And fair play, you know, both those boxers are going to get loads of, you know, money for it. You know, even Kambosa's going to, I don't know what the rules are, probably getting 30% of that. So, you know,
it's an IBF,
and it makes Top Rank look bad. Top Rank.
Sorry, go on.
That might be 35.
I think it is. It's
35. That might be 35 then if it's an IBF.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So both will be very happy with that. And you know, I saw that his manager, Kambosa's manager, did an interview as well with IFL, and he was just saying, you know, it's great, it's amazing, and Hearn's like playing the game a little bit, saying it's great for boxing, and really, he probably isn't that bothered he didn't get the fight, and it's just more funny for Top Rank, and you know, Top Ranker could go and lose Lopez, because I think Lopez is almost coming out with stuff as well, saying, you know, I think he did a video and a Twitter thing saying, you know, you've lost one of your you could be losing one of your best assets here and all this stuff. So, you know, that's just quite interesting. I know it's not necessarily what's going on in the ring and the technical and more of the business side of boxing, but we cover a broad thing, don't we? And then there's more purse bids, isn't there? Well, I'll let you cover this one.
Yeah, just touching on the Trilla. So it was Trilla that bid for it, got it, and I believe they're going to try and put it on under Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield 3. So it might be on an undercard for Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield, and I think Jake Paul versus Ben Askren, the MMA fighter. So it's going to be kind of a bit of a blockbuster. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that unfolds. But I mean, that would be a huge loss if Top Rank were to lose Teofimo Lopez. Yeah, a huge loss. But I did hear there was a bit of a Twitter spat going on between Todd DeBert from Top Rank and Teofimo Lopez.
Yeah, I don't know the structure of Top Rank, but yeah, there's a few people that always get named. I don't know if he's CEO and Bob Arum's chairman and how it works, but yeah, that's not gone well for him. And maybe this is the model that Trilla are going to use. You know, bring in some of the old fighters that are going to create numbers, and you know, stick the actual proper fighters underneath. And it is a bit of a share. You know, I suppose I'm not as bothered. Like, part of me, again, as going back to being a boxing purist, it annoys me a little bit that there's past fighters that are way past the best and they're rolling them out. I understand why there's fascination, and I don't mind if that's done separately. But then to pull in an actual world-class fighter into that, I'm just worried that they do that one day with a really, really good fight.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully, a really, really good fight would be on its own. But imagine they did that with Canelo Triple G3, and that was on the undercard of Lewis Tyson 2 or something like that. It'd be a bit like, Canelo, we've not moved on, have we?
I know, it would be a bit ridiculous. But yeah, interesting to see how that develops. But yeah, there's Usyk versus Joyce has been agreed as the interim heavyweight WBO title. So, and it looks like that's going to go to purse bids as well. I don't think the Joyce's team and Usyk's team is going to. I don't think they're going to get a deal together. I think they're quite happy just to let it go to purse bids and just go to the highest bidder, which means it's going to be Frank Warren versus Eddie Hearn and maybe a couple of others thrown into the mix. So
I just can't wait for them to start like throwing mud at each other and just, you know, whine each other. He probably knows with the DAZN money, he's got DAZN and well, I suppose actually it won't be Sky and DAZN. It'll either be Sky bid for it or DAZN bid for it. It'd be interesting to see how that works. Actually, I don't know if this will cause Hearn a problem. Actually, whether he'll have, I don't know how he'll deal with that. Will there be 2 bids? Or will he say? I suppose he'll have to say. Well, no, he might just have because it's under Matchroom, isn't it? So he'll have to probably say, DAZN and Sky Sports will have to probably bid to him.
Yeah,
and Sky Sports may say, 3 million towards it, and DAZN say, I can give you 4 million towards it. And then it comes to him and he goes, right, well then with all the gate receipts and stuff like that, 5 million's my bid. You know, I don't know how he takes DAZN and it's more on top, because obviously there's sponsorship, there's, you know, the crowd number, you know, if they can get a crowd. So actually, I never not thought of that until now, but you know, he's almost got 2 people that can help him, where Warren's only got 1, and both of those 2 have got deeper pockets than BT, you would have thought.
Yeah. I think they have, yeah.
And BT, you know, have BT got that much in the game for Joyce? I mean, if Dubois had beaten Joyce, I have a feeling they'd go bigger.
Yeah.
On a bid than they would on Joyce.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you know, BT. That
yeah, I'm looking for the bid.
Yeah. I don't think it'd be far away.
The bid itself could be.
I think it's only about a week away.
I'd pay to watch the bid.
I think it's about a week away, you know, because Sam Jones was saying it could be done within the next couple of weeks. So, and that was a week ago. So I think it's going to be done soon. So yeah, we need to.
That's the first bid.
Watch out for that.
Obviously, we're still waiting on. We had, you know, a big fight announced last night, which was Billy Joe Saunders and Canelo, which we spoke about. But that's great that big fights are still happening, and in May, and if we can get Jazora Parker, then as well, that would be great. And then obviously we're still waiting for Fury, AJ Fury, however you want to dress it up. Sounds like they're getting close, and there's paperwork to be signed. I also get the feeling they probably wanted to announce the Billy Joe fight and get the reaction then and let that settle and then do this one. I'm putting my neck out and saying I think it will be done back end of next week.
Really?
Or it will be announced. It may not have a home or a date, or it may have a date but no home, or it may have it all. But I think that they'll announce that it's been signed and the paperwork's done. And it's definitely happening. They just need to secure a site, and it's going to be in June.
Right. All right. Okay.
That's my feelings from what I've been seeing.
Yeah, it does feel like it's dragging on a little bit. I don't think there's any problems, but I remember when Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather, that was a fight that was talked about for maybe about 2 months before they actually announced it's definitely on. This is the date. So I don't think it's anything out of the ordinary. I don't think we need to be worried. I think it is definitely going to happen. Yeah.
Fury has done an interview. For ESPN, and I think it's just to hype, really. It depends how you want to see it. But he has said, like, oh, they're dragging the feet. It's typical Fury, weird logic, and, you know, contradicting himself. So it'd be like, they're dragging the feet. They've had a year to sort this out. I don't know where they've had a year to sort this fight out, because they had a Ruiz rematch, and they had, you know, they didn't, you know, they knew that they thought that Wilder was going to be fighting, what do you call it? Sorry, he had the Pulev fight he had to have.
Yeah.
He thought Wilder and were going to fight. So I don't know why they had a year to do it. Then he said it's the fighters want it. It's just all the other people like slowing it down. And then he goes, but Joshua's and doesn't want the fight. So I don't know. He's just making noise, and he's almost saying, "I'm ready to move on. I need to be active. I'm just ready to move on." I don't know if it's just general frustration. I don't know if Bob Aaron's not keeping up to date, or there's real problems. But I don't know. I get the feeling it's not far. I think one thing that's going to be a bit tricky, and it could play into our favour, is we've always assumed it was going to be in another country, maybe the Middle East, and just how the British government now have opened up the pathway to almost say on the 21st of June, likely that you're going to be able to have full stadiums. And therefore the very back end of June, I'm trying to think when the Euros are, because I think the Euro final is, so maybe it might slip into the first weekend of July, but you could have Wembley for that week and you get 100,000 in.
Mm.
Whether someone like Saudi Arabia and all that can deliver what they need to, it could end up, and I'm wishful thinking a bit, but I don't think they're as far ahead on the vaccine. Will they let other people come into the country? Will our country let people come back in without, you know, all that awkwardness? So
Mm. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe it'll arrive in the UK. Who knows? That would be pretty amazing. I don't know. For some reason, the interviews that I've been watching just leads me to believe they've already kind of set that it will be overseas. They'll be in the Middle East or maybe Singapore. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I still lean towards it being abroad. I think that they may have been surprised that back end of June you could fill at Wembley.
Yeah,
I think that they might be like, right, now will that, because I don't, in Saudi Arabia it's like if they can't get people over, or it just can be locals. I'm not sure how that's going to go down, but we'll see anyway.
yeah.
Final thing on the agenda, a little check-in with how your fellas doing. I hear your fellas got a fight.
Edgar Berlanga. Yeah, actually, before we talk about that, there is actually other heavyweight news that we've missed, and that is the IBF mandatory between Michael Hunter and Filip Hrgović. Did we have that on the agenda?
Oh yeah.
So I think
that's
been mandated. Michael Hunter versus Filip Hrgović. Probably similar situation. We'll go to purse bids. Probably won't be mandated for the title, and probably till next year for the IBF. But I think that's a really intriguing fight. I don't know if they'll do that next or whether they'll have a tune-up. But yeah, I think that's an interesting little scrap. Which way would you have that one?
It's interesting. I don't know. Probably it's hard to know because Hrgović hasn't been at a high level yet, where you could say, or high enough level. But Hunter has, because he's got a few decent wins, and he's obviously got that draw with Povetkin. And I just wonder if he'll struggle a bit with the style. Hunter's very quick. He's very, as for a heavyweight, because obviously he's very light and he can bang, but he's small for heavyweight. And is he going to struggle with Hrgović and his style? Eastern European head back.
Yeah.
He's going to be hard to hit. Jab right, hat straight right. Is that going to be tricky for him? So I don't know. I lean towards Hrgović more because of styles, and it's weird though because I'd probably see Hunt having more success against some of the other the bigger guys than Hrgović would.
Yeah.
In a weird way, I'd probably give Hunt a chance against Dillian White than Hrgović. Just the style element of it.
Yeah.
But be interesting to see. And I think Hearn said he offered him the fight. And they didn't hear anything from him, and now he's offered it, and I think he's more happy because it's an eliminator, and the IBF eliminator is a good one to have because you're going to be given a fight at some point, and that fight, I think Hearn said, would be the winner of that. It would be ordered for like February next year.
Yeah.
So a year's time, basically, it'll have to be done. So basically, Joshua and AJ and Fury could fight twice, and whoever holds that IBF belt will have to defend it against the winner of that. Apparently, Charles Martin was like number one, but he turned it down. He turned the fight down, which is odd. Maybe feels he's not ready, but he's kind of said he wants to come back and right the wrong against AJ, and that's the perfect way.
That is strange.
You don't know if it or is advised to say, not to have it. And I think the thing of Hunter as well is that because it's IBF again, there's rules about even the purse splits on something like that. So I think it's something like the least you can get is 40% for an eliminator. So that's probably what he was getting offered anyway. So yeah, that's a really good fight.
That's an interesting development.
To know where that would be.
I didn't know Charles Martin had rejected that. I wonder if that says that if that leads to Charles Martin actually fighting Deontay Wilder then. So that tells me that he's already got something agreed if he's turning something like that down.
Possibly. I saw an interview with him and he said, he was saying he was very heavy, A month ago, I saw an interview and he said he was very heavy, like 270 or something like that.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, but I was 280, come down to 270. Then I saw an interview with him literally in the week. And I didn't watch it all, but he looked a lot trimmer. I didn't catch his weight. But he almost says, you know, he wants another tune-up as well.
Right.
So I don't know if he's been tune-up and then Wilder, you know, rather than for big money, rather than a tune-up and, or whether than just go straight into this IBF kind of eliminator. So whether he's like, actually, I'll make more money in that order. I think Charles Martin is someone who's just all talk, really. I mean, he's proved it in the AJ fight. I think he'll just do what he thinks. I think he knows his limitations and he'll just go, right, I'll probably get beat off Hrgovic or Hunter. There's a good chance I'll get beat. I'll take an easy fight and I'll get some money out of that. And then I'll take the Wilder fight and that'll be big money. And Wilder's vulnerable, even though I've got a fair chance of getting cleaned out myself. Wilder's vulnerable. And if I get Wilder on my record, wow.
Yeah.
Wilder on your record is probably better than being mandatory for the IBF in a way.
Probably is, actually, yeah. I mean, yeah, you're straight into the forefront of the division. Yeah, for sure.
So thinking about it, if that is the case, it's probably the right decision.
Yeah, if that's the case. Yeah, we'll see.
If that's the case. He is with Al Heyman, though, isn't he?
Yeah, Charles Martin, yeah, he's part of the Al Heyman cult. You can see.
Yeah. Sorry, anyway, on to your fella.
I don't know how you've backed me into a corner and you've made me kind of put my flag into the ground on Edgar Berlanga, my fighter for 2021.
All our viewers, mate, and all our 14, 15 subscribers are just waiting for the day he gets cleaned out.
I know, but I mean, predicting the next boxing superstar is so difficult. I thought Jason Quigley was going to be the next big thing, and you know, look what happened to him. But anyway, yeah, Edgar Berlanga is scheduled to fight.
Did you ever see that guy I mentioned? I think I sent you a video of him. He was on some undercard of one of the fights I saw recently, and he's like welterweight or super welterweight, and he light middle. I'm pretty sure he's welter though, and he's 6'2".
Yeah,
and his dimensions are just so odd, and he's going to be so awkward. But he's literally a beanpole, but just so long. So I don't know, some freak like that could end up being a big thing. He just looked really bizarre. It's like a freak of nature. So he's my pick, whatever his name.
What's his name?
I remember. I'll find him, and then he can be my guy of the future, and we'll see who does best out of the two.
Okay, yeah. See if you can find him. We can talk about him next week. But anyway,
before I put this.
Anyway, Edgar Berlanga is scheduled to fight Demond Nicholson on 24th of April on ESPN. So yeah, you heard it here. That's going to be the next big star.
What date again?
24th of April. It'll be. I think it'll be on an undercard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've not heard of his opponent. What's the? Is that a step up? Is it a?
No, I've never heard of him either. I don't think it's a big step up, to be honest. Not yet.
Do you think they want to bring out this not just knockout ratio, but first round knockout ratio really long and use that as a big thing before throwing him in with someone?
I mean, I have no idea. I think this guy, he has been in the ring with some other people that I have heard of. Steve Rolls, who lost against Golovkin. Jesse Hart, who's obviously well known in the super middleweight, light heavyweight division. He fought Gilberto Ramirez a couple of times. So on paper, it looks like it might be a little bit of a step up, but still not quite there yet. But he's still very young as well, so there's no rush. No rush. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Have we got any big fights coming up? Do we need to do any? There's no predictions for that we need to do for next week. I think. Estrada versus Chocolatito is 2 weeks from now. Oh, Tony Yoka is fighting next week, actually.
Is he?
Yeah.
That's also why. If Matchroom not got a fight next week anywhere?
No, it was supposed to be Dillian White versus Povetkin, which is why there's a gap.
Yeah.
So I reckon we just news next week.
Yeah, you're right. No, but this is why I think the announcement might land this week, because there's nothing else going on as well.
Well, let's hope so, and then we can have something to talk about.
Yeah, we'll do a video on that, can't we? So. Right. Yeah.
All right, let's wrap it up. Thanks very much for listening. Please like and subscribe. All right, take care.